If you think Boer and Savannah goats can only thrive in hot climates, think again. In this video, you'll discover how these hardy breeds can actually do well in cold regions. We'll dive into real-life examples, like how Kelsey Fehr manages to raise her goats in the freezing temperatures of northern Iowa, where it can get as cold as -11 degrees. So, stick around to learn how you too can help your goats adapt to chilly weather and keep them healthy and happy all winter long. Boer and Savannah goats are popular breeds known for their ability to withstand heat and dry conditions. They originally come from warm climates where they've adapted to hot temperatures and scarce water. But here's the big question. Can they also thrive in cold environments where frost and snow are the norm? Today, we're going to explore whether these warm weather goats can make it through cold winters. We'll look at how farmers have managed to help them adjust to freezing temperatures and what you can do to keep your goats thriving even when the weather gets tough. So let's start by comparing the native environments of Boer and Savannah goats to cold climates. These goats originally come from places where it's hot most of the year. In their native lands, temperatures can soar, and they rarely have to deal with freezing weather. This means they are built to handle heat, with short hair and skin that helps them stay cool. But what happens when you take these heat-loving goats and put them in a colder climate? Suddenly, things change a lot. Instead of worrying about staying cool, these goats have to stay warm. Cold weather can be tough on them because they aren't naturally used to it. It affects their health, growth, and even their ability to produce milk. In a cold environment, they need more energy just to keep their bodies warm. This means they need more food, and the type of food changes too. They need richer feeds like grains and more hay to give them extra calories. Plus, frostbite and respiratory issues become real threats. Their immune systems can get stressed from the cold, making them more prone to illness. But don't worry, there are ways to help them adapt. That's what we're going to talk about next. The best techniques for helping Boer and Savannah goats adjust to life in colder climates. Stay tuned. Now that we know the challenges Boer and Savannah goats face in cold climates, let's talk about how you can help them adapt. Just because they come from hot regions doesn't mean they can't handle the cold. With the right techniques, you can set them up for success, even in freezing temperatures. First things first, housing. Providing proper shelter is key to keeping your goats warm. A simple barn or shed can do the trick, but it needs to be well insulated. You want to make sure there are no drafts, as goats hate cold winds. You can use materials like wood or even heavy-duty tarps to block out the wind. Adding deep bedding, like straw, can help keep them warm. The bedding acts like a blanket on the ground, trapping heat and providing comfort. Next up is feeding. In cold weather, goats burn more calories just to stay warm, so they need more food. Think of it like this. The colder it gets, the more fuel they need. Providing high-energy feeds like grains, along with plenty of good quality hay, can help them maintain their body heat. You can also give them supplements like alfalfa, which is packed with nutrients and energy. Make sure they always have access to fresh, unfrozen water. Checking their water daily to make sure it hasn't frozen over is essential. Another great idea is to use additional heat sources. Heat lamps or heated water buckets can make a big difference, especially for young or weak goats. But remember, safety comes first. Make sure heat lamps are secured and away from anything flammable. Some farmers even use heat pads under the bedding to keep the floor warm, but it's important to use these carefully. Lastly, think about adding windbreaks around their pens or pastures. Natural barriers like trees or shrubs can help block the wind, but you can also use fencing with tarps or boards to create a cozy corner for your goats. This will help reduce wind chill and make their outdoor areas more comfortable. These steps can go a long way in helping Boer and Savannah goats adjust to the cold. But what about real-life examples? How do actual farmers manage this? Well, let's dive into a success story next to see these techniques in action. It's always helpful to hear from someone who's been there and done that. So let's look at a real-life example of how one farmer, Kelsey Fehr, successfully raises Boer and Savannah goats in a very cold climate, northern Iowa, where winter temperatures can drop as low as -11 degrees. Kelsey has developed a solid routine to keep her goats healthy and thrive in these harsh conditions. One of her key practices is indoor care for newborns and their mothers. When baby goats or kids are born, they are especially vulnerable to cold. To protect them, Kelsey keeps the newborns and their mothers inside a warm shelter until the weather gets better. This helps them stay warm and prevents issues like hypothermia, which can be fatal for young goats. Another important part of Kelsey's routine is managing water sources. When temperatures drop, water can freeze quickly and goats can't drink ice. Kelsey checks her water sources daily to ensure they remain thawed. She uses heated water buckets or water heaters to prevent freezing, so her goats always have access to fresh, drinkable water. Staying hydrated is crucial for their health, especially in winter. To add extra warmth, Kelsey also uses additional heat sources in the goat pens. Heat lamps and heat pads are carefully placed to provide warmth without causing any safety hazards. But it's not just about adding heat, it's also about reducing cold drafts. Goats are pretty tough, but they don't like cold wind blowing on them. To prevent drafts, Kelsey uses deep bedding, like straw, and places windbreaks around their shelters. Through these methods, Kelsey has found a way to make cold winters manageable for her Boer and Savannah goats. Her experience shows that with the right care and attention, these goats can not only survive, but also thrive in cold climates. If you want to see more of Kelsey's tips and first-hand experiences raising goats in cold climates, be sure to check out her YouTube channel. She shares practical advice and knowledge that can help you manage your herd better. The link is in the description below. Raising goats in the cold isn't without its challenges. Let's explore the pros and cons next so you can make the best decision for your herd. Now that you've seen how Boer and Savannah goats can be raised successfully in cold climates, let's weigh the pros and cons of taking on this challenge. It's important to know both sides so you can decide if it's the right choice for your farm. Let's start with the pros. One of the biggest advantages is that Boer and Savannah goats are generally hardy animals. With the right care, they can adapt well to new environments, even colder ones. By raising them in a colder climate, you may face fewer issues with parasites, which are more common in warm and humid regions. Cold weather can help reduce the number of parasites, leading to healthier goats and potentially lower medical costs. Another benefit is that these goats are very resilient with proper shelter, feed, and care. They can still produce good quality meat or milk even when the weather is less than ideal. However, there are also some cons to consider. Raising Boer and Savannah goats in cold climates often comes with higher costs. You'll need to invest more in proper housing, insulation, bedding, and possibly heat sources to keep them warm and comfortable. Feeding costs can also increase because these goats need more energy to stay warm, meaning they'll eat more hay and grain, which can add up. There's also the risk of cold-related health issues. Goats can suffer from frostbite, especially on their ears and feet, if they're not kept warm and dry. Respiratory problems can also occur if their housing isn't properly ventilated. Drafts and damp conditions can lead to illnesses like pneumonia, which can be dangerous if not treated quickly. Overall, raising Boer and Savannah goats in cold climates has its challenges, but with the right preparation and care, it can be done successfully. If you're up for the task and willing to put in the extra work, these goats can thrive in your colder region. But before you make any decisions, let's wrap things up with some key takeaways and practical tips to help you get started. So, what have we learned about raising Boer and Savannah goats in cold climates? While these breeds are naturally suited to hot weather, with the right care, they can adapt and even thrive in colder regions. The key is preparation and knowing what your goats need to stay healthy and comfortable when the temperature drops. First, remember that proper shelter is essential. A well-insulated barn or shed can protect your goats from the cold and keep them safe from drafts. Adding deep bedding and using windbreaks around their outdoor areas can also make a big difference. Second, focus on feeding. Your goats will need more energy to stay warm, so ensure you're providing them with high-energy feeds like grains and plenty of quality hay. Always check their water sources to ensure they are not frozen, as hydration is just as important in winter. Third, don't be afraid to use extra heat sources when needed, but always prioritize safety. Heat lamps, heated water buckets, and other heating methods can help, especially for young or weak goats. We've also seen through Kelsey Fehr's example that managing cold weather is entirely possible with the right strategies. Her approach to indoor care for newborns, regular water checks, and carefully managed heat sources shows how you can keep your goats healthy and thriving even in freezing temperatures. Finally, remember the pros and cons we discussed. Raising Boer and Savannah goats in cold climates can be rewarding, but it does require more effort and resources. If you're prepared for the challenge and ready to provide the right environment, these goats can be a great addition to your farm, even in colder regions. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe for more tips on raising livestock in various climates. And if you have any questions or experiences to share, drop them in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.